The night was darker than usual. The forest canopy swallowed the moonlight, leaving only scattered beams that struggled through the tall trees. Crickets chirped loudly, hyenas howled in the distance, and the heavy air smelled of damp earth and fear. A woman walked quickly, clutching a small bundle wrapped in faded cloth. Her footsteps were hurried, but her eyes darted nervously from side to side. The bundle stirred, and a child's faint cry broke the silence. She tightened her grip, her lips trembling as tears ran down her cheeks. Finally, she reached a small clearing where the ancestors were once said to whisper. She laid the child on the ground, the cloth barely protecting him from the cold soil. The baby's innocent eyes blinked at her, unaware of the fate being sealed. "Forgive me," the woman whispered, her voice shaking. "I have no choice. They would kill us both if I kept you." She kissed his forehead one last time, then turned and ran into the darkness. The child's cries grew louder, echoing through the forest. Owls hooted from the trees. Shadows seemed to move as though unseen eyes were watching. And then, the wind shifted, soft, almost like a voice carried with it. The forest had taken notice. If you are watching this from anywhere in the world, comment below where you are listening from, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful African tales. But who was this child, and why had he been abandoned? To understand that, we must go back to the village where it all began. The village of Ndalama was known for two things: its vast gold mines and its strict traditions. Wealth flowed through its markets, but power was held tightly by the ruling chief and his council of elders. Among the people of Ndalama was a young woman named Amara. She was beautiful, gentle, and hardworking, but her life was shadowed by tragedy. Her husband had died mysteriously not long after their marriage, leaving her widowed with no protection. Soon after, Amara gave birth to a child, but the village began to whisper. The chief's jealous wife accused her, saying, "This child carries a curse. He was not born of love, but of witchcraft." The elders, fearful of the queen's influence, agreed. Some said the boy's father had been killed not by accident, but by palace orders. Others claimed the child's birth coincided with strange omens: a red moon, flocks of birds circling the sky, and sudden storms over the mines. Fearing the boy's destiny, the chief's wife demanded the child be removed. "If he grows, he will rise against us," she warned. Amara pleaded with them, crying, "He is innocent. He is only a child." But her cries were ignored. That very night, under pressure and threats, Amara made the heart-wrenching choice to abandon her son deep in the forest, hoping at least the ancestors would protect him. The villagers thought the child was gone forever, but the forest had secrets of its own, secrets no one could control. The night Amara left her baby in the forest was heavy with silence. The moon hid behind clouds, and only the cries of the child echoed through the towering trees. But the forest was not empty, it was alive. Strange eyes glowed in the darkness: owls, foxes, and spirits of old. In Dalama, it was believed that the forest was a place where ancestors walked, guarding the balance between the living and the unseen. As the child wailed, the wind shifted. Leaves rustled as though invisible hands moved among them. A figure appeared, an old woman with hair like white. She was not human. She was the spirit mother, a guardian who had lived in the forest since before the village was built. She lifted the crying child into her arms and whispered, "Little one, the world has rejected you, but the ancestors have chosen you. You are not cursed. You are destined." That night, the forest itself seemed to bend around the child. Wolves that should have attacked sat quietly, watching like protectors. Owls circled above, keeping vigil. The spirit mother laid the boy in a bed of glowing roots, and the earth itself pulsed beneath him, as though granting him strength. From that moment, the boy stopped crying. His eyes, dark yet glimmering with strange light, looked around, as if he already understood he belonged not to man, but to something far greater. And so, while the villagers believed he had perished, the child began a new life among spirits, animals, and powers no human could explain. The forest had claimed him, and it would raise him as its own. Years passed, and the boy, whom the spirit mother named Keone, meaning the one who sees beyond, grew strong within the depths of the forest. His upbringing was unlike anything the villagers of Ndalama could ever imagine. He did not learn from human teachers, but from the earth itself. The rivers taught him patience, whispering secrets of flow and strength. The fireflies taught him light, showing him how to see even in darkness. The eagle taught him vision, to see danger before it arrived. And the wolves became his brothers, running beside him, teaching him loyalty and courage. But more than that, the ancestors themselves visited him in dreams. At night, Keone would fall asleep beneath the glowing roots of the sacred tree, and in his dreams, tall, shadowy figures with radiant eyes spoke to him. You were abandoned, but you are not lost. You carry the blood of warriors. The forest has chosen you, and soon the world will know your power. Strange signs began to show. When Keone was angry, winds would rise, bending the trees around him. When he placed his hand in the river, the waters calmed or raged at his command. Even wild animals obeyed him. Once, a raging lion approached, but instead of attacking, it bowed its head as if to a king. The spirit mother watched all this with pride, but also with caution. She knew great power could heal or destroy. Child, she warned him one evening as the moon bathed them in silver light, the world that rejected you will one day call your name again. But remember, your gift is not for revenge, it is for destiny. Keone listened, though deep inside, a question burned within him. Would he forgive those who abandoned him, or would he make them bow before the power they once threw away? One fateful day, hunters from Nandalama wandered too deep into the forest while chasing an antelope. They had always feared the sacred grove, whispering that it was cursed. But hunger made them reckless. As they crept closer to the glowing tree, they saw something that froze them in place. A boy, tall, strong, and clothed in woven leaves and animal skins, stood before a massive lion. The beast roared, ready to strike, but the boy simply raised his hand. Instantly, the lion fell silent, lowered its head, and walked away as if dismissed by its master. The hunters could not believe their eyes. By the gods, that boy, he commands the beasts, one whispered. But what shook them even more was his face, his eyes, his jaw. It was unmistakable. That is Keone, gasped another, dropping his spear. The same child we abandoned years ago in this very forest. Panic spread among them. To them, Keone was no longer a boy. He was something more, something beyond human. Terrified, they ran back to the village, shouting, "The abandoned child lives. He walks with lions, and the spirits obey him." When the elders heard this, fear spread like wildfire. Some said he was blessed, others claimed he was cursed. His aunt, who had been one of the loudest voices calling for his abandonment years ago, turned pale with dread. If he returns, she muttered to herself, he will not forgive us. He will destroy us all. And so, the people of Ndalama prepared themselves. But little did they know, Keone had already heard their whispers carried through the trees, and the time of his return was drawing near. The sun hung low over Ndalama, painting the huts in shades of gold. The villagers gathered in the square, restless and afraid. Children clung to their mothers, and warriors gripped their spears tighter than ever before. Then came a sound unlike any they had ever heard, deep, resonant, like drums hidden inside the earth. The ground trembled as shadows moved at the edge of the forest. Out of the trees, lions, leopards, and even elephants emerged, walking calmly as though answering to a silent command. Birds circled above, crying out in unison. And there, in the center of it all, walked Keone. His presence was both terrifying and mesmerizing. He was no longer the frail boy they had abandoned. His frame was broad, his eyes glowing with the strength of the forest, his every step echoing with authority. The crowd gasped. Some dropped to their knees. Others shouted in fear. "It is him, the child we cast away. He has returned with the power of the spirits." Keone stopped at the village gate. His animals halted, forming a silent wall of guardians behind him. With a steady gaze, he swept his eyes across the faces of those who had once betrayed him. His voice, calm but thunderous, rolled across the village. "Years ago you left me to die, but the forest raised me. The spirits made me stronger. Now I have returned, not as your victim, but as your reckoning." The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. And then, from the back of the crowd, a trembling voice broke out, his aunt's. "Keone, forgive us." But Keone's eyes did not soften, for forgiveness was not the gift he had returned to offer. The silence grew unbearable as Keone stood tall before the trembling villagers. His aunt clutched her wrapper tight, tears running down her cheeks, but his gaze remained fixed on her. Suddenly, a cold wind swept across the square. The The flames of the torches flickered violently. The villagers looked up as a strange mist began to rise from the ground, curling and twisting in patterns no human hand could draw. From within the mist, voices emerged, deep, layered, echoing like a chorus carried from the underworld. The voices of the ancestors. Keone is not alone, they thundered. We are with him. You cast out innocent blood, and the forest claimed him. But the spirits chose to raise him, to carry the power you feared. The crowd fell to their knees in shock. Some wailed, others bowed their heads to the earth. Warriors who once mocked the child now dropped their spears, trembling. Keone lifted his hand, and the animals behind him responded instantly. The elephants raised their trunks and trumpeted. The lions roared as if answering the ancestors themselves. The ground shook under the weight of their cries. The ants sobbed louder. It was greed. I feared he would take what belonged to me. Please forgive me, spirits, forgive me, Keone. But the ancestor's voice cut through her pleas like a blade. Greed blinds, betrayal curses, and innocence never dies in silence. What you sow, you shall reap. The villagers shuddered. Many covered their faces in shame. Keone stepped forward, his shadow long and mighty against the village huts. The ancestors have spoken, he declared, and their judgment begins today. The people cried out in terror, not knowing whether he had come to destroy them or to force them to live with the weight of their sins. The villagers huddled close together, trembling as if the earth itself might open beneath their feet. The night was alive with firelight, shadows of lions, and the echo of the ancestors' voice still hanging in the air. Keone's eyes burned with power, but within them was also pain, the memory of a child thrown into the forest like worthless refuse. He raised his hand once more, and the earth quaked. Cracks ran through the dusty ground, splitting paths between huts, and the villagers screamed, thinking the end had come. The animals growled and roared, but none advanced. They waited, disciplined, their loyalty to Keone unshakable. Should I destroy this place? Keone's voice boomed across the square, heavy with power. Should I let the forest reclaim the land of those who betrayed their own blood? His aunt collapsed fully to the ground, her forehead pressed into the dust. No, Keone! Spare us! Spare us! We were blind. I was blind. You are stronger than all of us, greater than all of us. Forgive me, or let the spirits take me instead. The crowd wept, mothers clutching their children, warriors hiding their faces in shame. Keone's chest rose and fell. For a long moment, silence reigned, only the flicker of fire and the distant cry of an owl carried in the wind. Then slowly he lowered his hand. The cracks in the earth stilled. The trembling of the animals subsided. You betrayed me when I was helpless, Keone said, his voice quieter now but piercing. But the spirits lifted me, not for revenge, but to remind you what happens when you abandon innocence. From today, let no child ever be cast out again. Let no orphan be treated as a curse. Or next time, the forest itself will rise against you. The ancestors' voices echoed once more. So it shall be, so it shall be. And with that, the mist faded. The night calmed, but the villagers would never forget the sight of the boy they abandoned, returning as something greater than human, carrying a warning carved into their souls forever. Keone turned his back on them, the animals following him like an army. Without another word, he walked into the night, leaving the village trembling, changed, broken, but alive.